The story begins in Seoul at the year 20-something. At the center of Gangnam District, Yeokseum-dong, there's a building owned by Group D. Located at the very top floor was the training room for these professional gamers. These ones were the rank 1 team in a game called ROR. And right now, they were battling the player called Dex. The match has officially started. The game welcomed these characters on the battle rift. The 5 of them will be battling this one man, a mysterious player that called himself Dex. The pro players had been eyeing this player for a long time, and now, they wanted to teach him a lesson. Their characters dashed towards Dex, but this guy maintained his composure and made a simple counterattack. With just one move, this guy's character was already defeated. The other 4 started to panic. They can't believe that their leader was defeated that easily. This assassin started to cast his spell and conceal his presence, but Dex immediately found his position. The assassin's attempt was blocked by Dex. Then he did a counterattack again and defeated the assassin. Their main tank and main damage dealer was now gone. Dex continued his attacks before they could even get to their formation again, and with that, all of them got crushed. These so-called pro players got wiped out by a solo player. Their reputation as the #1 team in this game was gone. The one that stands on the top now was this guy, a player named Dex. He single-handedly annihilated all of his opponents, and now, all the players were wondering what his real identity was. Turns out, our MC was just an ordinary kid playing in front of his computer. His name was Yoon Yi-young. His nickname was Dan. Solo play Dan, player D, Q-wordy 123, and these 100 more IGNs he had used. But right now, his current nickname is Dex. His IGN was not really that important to him, because his main goal for all the games he had been playing was to always be the rank 1. And right now, he gained the number spot again as he defeated the pro players. His name rose up to the top, and since he had already achieved his goal, Dex did something. This shocked the players inside the game, especially these pro players. They thought that Dex was mocking them until the end. After achieving the highest rank in this game, the #1 player quitted. The next day, a delivery truck was on their way to deliver a package. The personnels inside were still talking about Dex and how he trolled everyone. The man at the passenger seat was still annoyed because he was a fan of the pro team that Dex destroyed. In this world, gamers who were using computers were slowly dropping, and there was one and only reason. It's this game called Arcadia. 3 of the world's leading companies, which were Agent Electronics, Argos Corporation, and Silicofit, combined work and created a new game in secret. And this newest online game was not available for computers. Players would have to log in using a machine called Dreamer. This was the world's first virtual reality machine. Inside Arcadia, a new world with infinite possibilities awaits everyone. This girl was their mascot, and their advertisements were all over the place. This truck a while ago was about to deliver the last Dreamer available, but they were confused because the address led them to this worn-out house. The windows even had some cracks on it. Inside this house was our main character, and he was excited because he could finally play this game. He then immediately logged in his account on the previous game he was playing. The most powerful character inside this game was about to be deleted, and our MC didn't even hesitate to do this, because right now, a new journey awaits him. Young had officially logged in inside Arcadia, and he was thrilled to see a new world which he will eventually dominate. There have been lots and lots of games that were created in our world, and some of them had features that the developers hid in plain sight. They could be some simple jokes or antics, or they could even be some power-ups that could break the whole game. These things were often called Easter eggs, and right now, this man had hid something in Arcadia as well. He left this secret mission to this artificial intelligence called Alice. Their main goal was to find the next bard for this game. Virtual reality is a technology that replicates the senses by connecting a device to someone's brain. This was now possible because of a machine called the Dreamer. This lets people live a new life in a different world. Our MC had finally logged in and entered the world of Arcadia. He was quite overwhelmed because there were a lot of people playing this game. He started checking all the basic stuff like his status window. Young had named himself as Dex again, and he currently was at level 1. He praised the interface of this game because it's not too complicated. He also received his first beginner quest, which was to eliminate a slime. This monster was the most basic and weakest monster in the game. Since this was a virtual reality game, players need to adjust their movements to move properly, and the game gave them some assistance through the use of skills. As for our MC, he didn't need any assistance at all. His skills were top tier, and he immediately grasped the basics. Dex had killed his very first slime with ease. This also meant that his quest had been completed. After that, a new quest appeared, and this one required him to read 100 books. This confused our MC. He thought that this game was being cheaty right now, but since this guy was a game addict, he went to the library to complete it. This was Edeline Public Library, and it was being managed by these 2 girls. The purple-haired one was quite interested in something. She was looking at Dex, who had been reading for days non-stop. She explained that this was really a rare case because usually, people would only browse through the books without understanding them. But right now, someone has really spent some time taking this quest seriously. The other lady thought that eventually, Dex would give up, but then he approached her and asked for a sequel to a book he was reading. This lady was then shocked because this was the first time someone asked for the sequel of that book. This meant that he was reading them properly. Dex revealed that he found some interesting parts inside this book and he wanted to learn more of it. This book's title was History of Arcadia, the earliest trace of Edeline. Hearing this, the lady was left speechless. She immediately brought up the book that Dex was asking, and our MC thanked her. This book had these special markings all over it. Dex then asked her why this book was hidden separately from the prequel of it. Her expression towards Dex changed, and she revealed that this book was only given to those who asked for it. Dex went back to his seat, and as he was about to open this book, something felt really weird. At the main control center of the game, which was managed by this AI, she detected something. A special event was triggered and it led to a hidden quest. The said character that triggered this was none other than our MC. The book was about a legendary adventurer. He hid a treasure at the lake in the beginner town, Edeline. There had been a lot of speculations about what this treasure was, but no one ever managed to find it. But something was certain. This treasure had the earliest trace of darkness. The legendary adventurer named Ezreal left it below the lake. Dex read this passage and it got him interested. He searched for the lake inside the beginner town and there was only one lake. It's called Irun Lake. After some time, our MC went to this place. He stood in front of the lake and just stared at it. He was now wondering how the piece of darkness would be inside this peaceful lake. But as he was about to give up, a series of notifications popped out. Dex, which was only at level 1, had triggered another quest just because he went in this lake. This quest has a quest rank of B+. These notifications had almost blinded our MC. This was the official quest given to Dex. The finding the traces of darkness. He was then confused because this quest was not appropriate to his level, but instead of getting scared, he suddenly felt excited. A purple light then started glowing below the lake. This figure was at the bottom of it, and it was oozing with this ominous aura around it. After receiving the quest, Dex decided to check the surroundings first, but he didn't find anything suspicious. The only place left to check out was the lake itself. He prepared himself for this task. Our MC then dove right into the water. He was quite shocked because this lake was really deep compared to its size. He couldn't even see the bottom of this lake. Meanwhile, at Arcadia's Korean branch, these people were all panicking because the main scenario had already been discovered. This man was Kwon Mong-han and he was general manager of the Arcadia Korean branch. He was quite stressed because their server was only a week old, but this already happened. His lackeys reported that one player had discovered one element in the game that could shake its world upside down. But since they also don't know what's really happening, he decided to report this first to his boss. After the meeting, these guys will now get back to work. Myung-han compared the progress of the Korean server to the US. The main scenario there was only discovered after 3 months. The main scenario's name was Brewing the Forgotten Darkness. Back to our MC, he was still trying to get the item below the lake. His skill in diving had already been improved up to the B rank and it also increased his vitality. Dex had been 200 meters down the lake but he hadn't seen the bottom yet. He was now thinking if he should just give this up. Usually, players would be raising their levels and take the lead in progressing inside the game. But as for what he was doing right now, this was the opposite. Dex also didn't have much time to waste because the payment for the capsule was at 920,001 a month. That's around $700 right now. He was expecting to pay for this expense through selling the items he will get inside the game. But if he continued on doing this quest, he might not even reach his goal of earning at least 1,000,001 per month. Dex was a hardcore gamer at heart and as he stared at these words, he knew he had to do it. This quest was only available for him. That already separated him from the other players inside the game. He has now decided to continue searching for this lost item. Meanwhile, at the Silicon Valley Silicoff's headquarters, this lady right here was resting on her bed. She was Jenica Paul, 15 years old and she was the representative of Silicoff. She woke up as soon as she found out something. Jenica confirmed if the Korean server had really started the main scenario. This man on the other end of her screen told her that that was really the case. She was now wondering why the developer of the game would leave something that important in the beginner's town. One man did this thing, and she was quite annoyed about it. Jenica then searched the database for more information about this item. She found this. The hidden class is called Bard of Anarchy. As she read through its description, she wondered if someone could really break the game with this class. This class had no leveling concept and no attack capability, but it was then revealed that this class had one special ability. Jenica continued reading through the database, and she started shaking as she found out about this special ability. Her scream was heard all over the building. Back to Arcadia, 10 days had already passed. Someone emerged from the lake and a hand was holding this pendant. It was Dex. And he finally got the special item. His diving skill was now at a rank because of his non-stop attempt on getting this. He also completed his quest called In Search of the Traces of Darkness. The necklace he got was called Black Necklace and he got this as his reward. This item has these ancient powers inside it and the system reminded Dex to think for a long time before using it. And because of the reminder, he was now thinking if he really should use this or not. The system then asked our MC about his decision. And of course, because of his curiosity, he chose to use it. But then another question appeared and it confused him. This kept on going on and on and on and on. Dex was really getting frustrated because of the system's consistent warnings. After some time, the system finally changed its message and it was more like a person. Turns out, another man was controlling these messages and he was quite amused because of Dex's tenacity. This one was hoping that Dex could also turn the world of Arcadia upside down just like what he had been doing right now. Dex was just about to ask this man what his identity was. But then this light appeared in front of him. A notification saying that his class was changed to Bard of Anarchy appeared. This deleted the leveling system and Dex acquired a new stat called Plausibility. A mission system was also added to his status window and a new character was attached to him as a player. A new quest was given to Dex. At the Edeline Western Grassland, these players were busy hunting these slimes. One of the players charged his fist with powers, and he used this to eliminate this monster. He was also happy because the slime dropped a slime bell. His companion got jealous because this item was worth 50 bronze. This made him motivated to grind even more even though they have a mock exam next week. But someone was lurking and just watching them. It was Dex and he was wondering if the system really wanted him to kill these kids. 1 hour ago, Dex had been trying to delete his character but he was not able to do it. The system forbade him. After changing to this hidden class, he immediately regretted it, and it was because of a simple reason. Dex found out that the Bard of Anarchy class will not let his character level up. Leveling up was the most basic system in every game. This determines the growth and progress of players, and without this, a character can't even grow any stronger. Dex thought that this would not affect him too much in the early game, but it will definitely make an impact at the later stages of the game. It could create a power gap between him and those high-level players. Just thinking about it made him lose hope. He then remembered the guy that talked to him before he accepted the hidden class. He thought that all those notifications were really important and they were really trying to stop him. Dex soon gave up on meddling with this unsolvable problem. He thought that since he can't do anything about it anyway, he'll just accept it. He now hopes that this hidden class will be useful in the future. After accepting his fate, he tried checking the other information about this class, and he found this new stat called plausibility. This stat has the capability of interfering with the things inside this world. It could easily bend the rules. After the stats are used, they will also be done forever. Dex was quite confused after reading this. That's when he received the quest that was related to this class. He needs to kill the beginners that have not changed their jobs yet. And this quest has a 7-day time limit. And right now, he was stuck on spying on these kids. He was still hesitating on doing this quest because it will ruin the game for these kids. But he had no other choice. He was just trying to play the game as well. Dex was about to dash towards them, but something happened. Someone had already attacked these ones, and they were these 3 guys. They told the newbies that they were the ones who owned this hunting ground and they were not allowed to hunt in this area. Our MC was now confused about the identity of these players. Claiming this hunting ground didn't make any sense. The lady tried to defend their rights. This place was really a public area for all beginners, but this older guy stopped her from talking. This player named Crazy Monkey was now threatening them. This one noticed the color of his name and it was already red. This meant that this player had killed a lot of other players. This lady was starting to tremble because the other guy told her that he can easily find her real identity. He now commanded them to get lost or else things will get worse. This lady started screaming for help, but all the other players near them just stood up there and did nothing. The guy then mustered his courage and confronted these guys. He told them that this was just a game and everyone should just enjoy it. This statement made these guys speechless, but then they started laughing. Crazy Monkey then started introducing the real world aspect of this game. All things were being determined by power, and this was the truth. Someone then agreed to Crazy Monkey's statement, but it was followed by an attack and it got the companion of Crazy Monkey. It was Dex, and he was regretting that he didn't take down this one with only one blow. He then continued on slashing his way towards this group, and they were instantly defeated. His in-game name color also started to turn into red. Our MC had just started his journey inside Arcadia. After killing these players, he earned 1 plausibility point each. Dex still doesn't know how to use this stat, but he thought that he would have a hard time collecting more points. He then heard a voice saying thanks to him. It was from these 2 newbies and they were asking our MC how they could repay him. Dex then told them not to thank him because he would be doing the same to them. This shocked these 2 players. He also told them not to resent him too much, because after all, this was just a game. This guy saw it on Dex's face, but before he could say anything, he already got slushed. Dex gained another 2 plausibility points, and right now, he was about to hunt for more. Especially those who were just watching the scene. These ones were frozen on their tracks upon hearing Dex. It was then followed by multiple screams coming from the hunting grounds. That same day, a rumor started spreading in the main page of Arcadia. Every newbie said the same thing. The real crazy one has appeared. Later that night, this owl was just lurking in the dark, and it saw this guy who was running for his life. He was already crying and begging someone to save him, but then he tripped on this rock. This player received a status ailment and he was injured. This reduced his movement speed. He then turned his head around to check something. A pair of red eyes were already catching up to him. A man with this dark cloak slowly walked towards him. It was our MC, and he had this scary expression on his face. This guy then tried to confront Dex. He told him that he had no reason to kill him, but Dex was already about to swing his weapon. This guy started telling him that he will report Dex's actions to the game management to get him punished, and this statement stopped our MC from keeling him over. He then cleared one thing to this player. It was the game itself that made him do this. This confused the player, and then he was cut in half. Dex gained another point because of this. After a whole day of eliminating players, he was finally sleepy. Inside the Arcadia game, there exists a penalty for each death of the players and it will restrict them from logging back in for 24 hours. This was enforced to prevent people from getting addicted to playing the game. But right now, this penalty was being asked to be removed by a lot of players. The customer service response department of Arcadia was now receiving a lot of calls regarding the same problem. The general manager noticed this and he found out that this was regarding PK that was happening inside the game. He got annoyed because they were still busy handling the main scenario thing, and right now, one player had caused another problem. It was also confirmed that this incident made a whole department work overtime tonight. Meanwhile, this was the current status window of our MC. He already killed 1,025 players. He achieved this for playing non-stop for 2 days. Dex's body was already at its limit, and all the screaming and pleading that were thrown at him also took a toll on his emotions. He now wonders if this quest was really alright because he had already disrupted the course of the game. He was still wondering why he got this quest in the first place. But right now, Dex thought that he really can't be bothered. He also heard some noises coming near him. It was from these slimes. These ones thanked our MC because he saved them from players that were killing them. This increased Dex's closeness towards the slime race. The slimes also surrounded Dex and gave him their expression of love. This made Dex happy because his actions were not in vain. It helped these slimes, but as he was having fun with these monsters, they heard something again. Flames also appeared. Dex knew what this was. He then said his goodbyes to his slime friends. Turns out, the flames were from the torches that were being held by this group of players. This guy stopped walking as he saw Dex. He then commanded everyone to chase this man. Dex continued running away. He was about to exit the forest, but at the end of this trail was a cliff and it cornered him. This guy was starting to boast because they had finally caught the culprit. Dex didn't even flinch and just smiled. This guy purposely jumped towards the end of the cliff. He was now free falling. This guy thought that this player was really crazy, but as Dex was still falling, he suddenly did something. He logged out from the game. After this incident, lots of videos started circulating on YouTube. It showed the things that RMC had done. The comments section also went crazy because most of them were killed in the process. The guy that Dex had killed started monitoring his movement and he found out that Dex was just always around the slime hunting grounds. This made him think that maybe this mysterious player was just a low level. He also formulated a plan to get his revenge. He will level up and form a team against this player. The next day, people gathered in this plaza. This green-haired guy acted as their leader and he thanked all of the players here for coming. Their main mission was to hunt this player who had been killing all of the beginners for quite some time now. This incident reminded everyone that Arcadia was a game that was based on the scenarios that the players had created. All the things that were happening would eventually create a new story inside this world. This process was being overseen by an AI named Alice. And right now, this AI detected a mission that the victims of Dex had made for themselves. She then created an official quest for these people. All of them got the notification. This quest was called Catch the Beginner Serial Killer. They need to capture this mysterious player who had been causing problems to all of them. After this quest appeared, the Korean branch was on red alert again. They were now panicking because a quest was created without them even knowing. This man named Kang Taehoon was scolding his team because he thought they were taking this scenario lightly. All the team could do was to take the blame. They could just wait until the analysis was done. This was clearly an emergency situation because the high-ups were involved. And after a few moments, one employee came in and told his boss that this was related to the main quest. Just after 2 days of finding the clue for the main scenario, that player had already managed to start it. This production and start phase have a huge difference between them. The production part can be compared to the seed being planted, and just after it absorbs enough nutrients, it will grow and start producing flowers. This was the start phase. And usually, it would take months. But right now, these 2 phases were triggered in just 2 days. The director then analyzed the data because their estimation was completely off. He then saw this video of beginner murder. He found out that one player had been killing all the other newbies at the slime hunting colony. And this was the same player who had some relation to the main scenario. The team had already tried having some background checks on this player, but their access was already restricted by the headquarters. This guy was now wondering the identity of this player because the main HQ even protected him. As he browsed through the data even more, he saw something. The director saw that this player had already killed 1,025 players in just 2 days. Meanwhile, this culprit was just sleeping soundly. After a few moments, Dex finally woke up. He opened his computer and saw this banner created by the game itself. This was a special event intended to hunt the beginner killer down. He knew right away that this was about him. This post also had a whopping over 2,000 comments. Dex immediately thought that this was too bothersome. He was already thinking of ending the quest right now, but he remembered that he still needs to pay for the installments of this capsule. He logged in back to the game and wondered what he should do next. Dex didn't expect that the game would really create a quest like this. Right now, he was still at the slime colony hunting grounds. Players have stopped coming in here because of the incidents. RMC was already thinking about looking for other places, but then he heard something. It was this slime and it looked like it was saying something. Not far from his location were these newbies who were doing their hunt. Turns out, they have been hunting this slime that caught Dex's attention. These 2 players immediately told Dex not to steal the slime. Dex just stared at this creature right here, and then he decided what to do. He slowly walked towards these players. One of them thought that Dex's features were kinda familiar, and when he had worn his cloak even better, this image struck an image. This player didn't recognize him yet and even threatened Dex. RMC smiled. He suddenly screamed and cat himself to make this guy's name red. Dex acted out as if the other player was a beginner murderer, and hearing this made these players' eyes turn red. Their brains were already thinking about the rewards they could get after completing the special quest. This one was about to explain his side, but Dex and the slime were already running away. It was also too late for any explanation because all the players within the area were already after the other guy. They were now trapped in this cliff. The one who thought that Dex's image was familiar remembered the video on Mew. RMC had successfully framed them. After that, Dex was now happy because they had escaped. The slime also followed him and gave him its thanks. And because Dex saved another one, his closeness with its race was increased. He got the title called Friend of Slimes. He thought that this was because he killed so many newbies and it prevented them from hunting the slimes in these areas. Dex thought that this scenario wouldn't still help him progress inside the game. But then more notifications popped out. He had reached the minimum requirement for plausibility. This meant that since he had this high relationship with the slimes, he could use the plausibility stats to help them. This was the current stats of the slimes. They were only at level 1. He also saw the plausibility stat below the status window. Dex tried absorbing this development, and then he had this evil smile. He started screaming because he thought that this game was really fun. RMC tried using the stats towards this creature and it created this bright light, and it worked. The system asked him if he would really apply these changes, and of course, RMC said yes. This was the power of a hidden class, Bard of Anarchy. A huge ray of light came from the skies, and this notification came up. The basic stats of the slime race have been changed. The ones were now at level 15 and gained these powerful aura around them. In every game, monsters were the ones who were being hunted by the players. They were always playing a huge role in every RPGs, and every player that was about to start their journey needed something to test their skills from. They were often called tutorial monsters, and the most notorious monster in every game that gamers have played were these cute and harmless creatures called slimes. But what if the weakest monsters in the game suddenly grew strong and beginner players were not able to hunt them anymore? In the video streaming site called YouTube, There were a lot of tutorials being posted on how to hunt these ones. There were even videos about the journey of the players to greatness. But this specific video caught the attention of the viewers. The video started as the player was being logged into the game. The creature was really impressed by the graphics of the game. He started looking around his surroundings until he found this slime that looked too cute. The creator was about to kill it, but then something happened. The slime suddenly dashed towards him, and in a few more seconds, the video ended. The creator died and he can't log in for another 24 hours. And because of this, his video became viral. The comment sections were also in chaos because they experienced the same fate. This was a product of using 1025 plausibility points towards the weakest monster in the game, and it created a total annihilation towards the newbies of this game. This innocent-looking monster was not the same anymore. Newbies can't even damage them. Meanwhile, our MC was just chilling while watching these newbies. He thought that this was really a crazy idea. Usually, slimes will not attack players if they were not attacked. They were too passive, but right now, they have turned into more aggressive monsters. Dex thought that maybe its characteristics changed when he leveled them up. This was a power of plausibility. It could change the normal flow of the game. And Dex was starting to grasp the strength of the stat. He also saw these guys who initiated a special hunting quest towards him. This green-haired guy was now screaming because they were already being overwhelmed by slimes. This one jumped in front of him, and he had no time to react. A huge explosion was then seen in the area. The once innocent slimes were now turned into real monsters. The green-haired guy was one shot by this strengthened slime. These ones were now devastated. They tried getting away, but more slimes came in. Dex gained more plausibility points as the slimes killed the players. This feature gave him a sense of satisfaction. 2 hours later, HI's plausibility points were now at 3,924. This was far more than the points he had collected the past 2 days. The slimes were doing all the work for him, and right now, the current body count is at 4,949 and he still has around 4 days before this quest expires. Dex thought about strengthening the slimes even more, but the system told him that this was their max level. He was quite disappointed finding this out, but still, this was really better than nothing. Besides that, he got these cute little ones with him now. Our MC gave them a boost in confidence as he told them that he will be counting on these slimes. Meanwhile, at the Korean branch, the general manager of this branch was already furious. He was now asking his team for some reports about the game. This guy reported that at exactly 1,320 hours, the stats of the slimes were suddenly boosted up, and this cost them a lot of beginners being killed. This incident is still ongoing right now, and they haven't heard anything from the headquarters. The director asked how strong these slimes became, and this guy revealed that they were now 10 times stronger than normal. All of the employees thought that their boss was kinda scary. Upon thinking about this information that was given to him, he was kinda shocked. He asked his employees how much the beginner player's basic HP was. It was around 100 HP exactly, and that only meant one thing. A level 1 beginner player could get one shot by these slimes. This boss immediately walked out of the room. He needed to check these himself now because he thought that Arcadia wouldn't make a mistake like this. The boss entered the room that had a capsule in it. He will be logging into the game to assess things personally. The system immediately granted him his access as level 3 administrator. The director was then transported to this room, and he confronted the AI that was overseeing all the things that were happening inside the game. Alice just stared at him. Meanwhile, Dex was now at the beginner hunting ground. He was already wondering why no players were coming in here. This was the current status of his personal quest. He already killed 9,640 players and he still has 2 days more. He thought that maybe the rumors have spread out already, that's why the kill count has slowed down. More high-level players also started coming in here because of the experience points they could get. The slimes were having a hard time defending themselves. Dex thought that he could not really do something about this right now. The numbers of players being killed just slowed down but not stopped completely, and after a while, it reached 10,000. The system then gave him an achievement for killing 10,000 players. He got the title of beginner killer. He also got an intermediate reward for this achievement. Dex was happy seeing this and he accepted this reward. A black lightning suddenly appeared in front of him. He thought that maybe this reward was just a trap because of the flashy effects it had. After that, a black orb was then left in front of him. Our MC thought that maybe this was a reward. It looked like more of an egg. This black thing started to have some cracks, and a few more seconds later, it opened. The system told Dex that he successfully received the reward, and it was this kind of familiar. This scary-looking monster asked Dex his identity, and right now, our MC was quite thrilled as he saw his newest familiar. It was releasing this immense pressure around it. Dex stopped smiling because of what he read. The name above the familiar says that this one was a monarch of chaos, the demon king named Satan. The familiar then smiled because he already knew that a complete summoning was impossible. He reverted back to his younger self. This was a current form of the demon king. He really doesn't mind this because even if he only had a little power, this was enough to kill all the angels. After this introduction, Dex just stared at his new familiar. Satan was too small. His expressions changed because he didn't expect his new form to be like this. He then turned his attention to Dex. Our MC explained to him what really happened. He told Satan that he received a reward and the system told him that Satan was now his familiar. This shocked Satan. He thought that he can't be under anyone's command. There were also no negotiations formed to call this one a contract. Dex found him weird because he had no idea what Satan was really saying. Our MC stared at the current demon king even more. His previous self would have looked like this, but now he was like a little kid. Satan then accepted the situation. He addressed Dex and told him that they will now be spending a lot of time together. He flew right above Dex's head and sat on it. He told Dex that he hoped that they would get along. Dex felt weird because the Demon King was just casually sitting above his head. Satan also felt something. He figured out that Dex has an immense power inside him. The system then told Dex that he could use the power of plausibility to unleash his familiar's true power. but it reminded him that his familiar was a demon and it could just deceive and tempt him. Satan's facial expression changed as he found out that his master could give him enough power to annihilate all the angels. He then bluntly asked Dex if he could give him some power. Satan was referring to the power that could disrupt the whole world, and Dex immediately figured things out. Satan was talking about the plausibility. He then started tempting our MC with his sweet words. He told Dex that if he could give him some plausibility, Satan could give him anything he wants. Right now, Dex has around 9,000 points. He thought that this stat was really a special element inside this game and asked Satan what he would give in exchange for this power. This familiar just smiled, and then he started summoning this dark magic circle. He then summoned this item called Nargle's Lament. This was a special cloak that can be equipped by players level 150 and above. It also had great defensive stats. Dex thought that level 150 was really too much. The US server who had started ahead of them only had players around level 50 seconds. And as for our MC, he told Satan that he didn't really need this cloak. Satan knew that his master wouldn't be satisfied with just a mere cloak, and he asked him what he really wanted. Dex had nothing in his mind right now, but then he remembered something. Dex asked Satan if he could strengthen the power of monsters, and the monster he was talking about was the slimes. The Demon King was dumbfounded by this answer. He then started laughing because he didn't expect this answer from his master. He got more fond of Dex now because he was too interesting. After that, Satan told him that this work was just a piece of cake to him. He asked Dex how much plausibility he would give him, and our MC told him that he will give all the points he has right now. Satan was really satisfied with this deal. He hurriedly sealed the deal and summoned his magic circle. This made our contract official. Lots of dark lightning appeared in the forest. While these were all happening, the slimes were getting killed. Stronger players had come to hunt them. They were also taking advantage that these slimes were giving too much experience points. This made this spot a perfect spot for the stronger players. They will use this momentum to even level up faster. But then the ground started shaking. A weird voice was then heard. It provoked the anger of the slime race. The voice grew stronger and something emitted this dark lightning. A dark aura started enveloping the slimes and it grew their thirst for revenge. These ones were now filled with anger. These players felt an immense pressure coming from the slimes. This guy was speechless. He was witnessing something too horrible. The slimes around the area started floating. He thought that he was about to die, but as he opened his eyes, he saw all the slimes were heading towards one direction. This water-type player asked everyone if this was real. The slimes were slowly combining themselves up and forming something huge. The players then received a notification from the system. It told them that the slimes who once loved peace as they strolled across the green fields have already decided that they were just being killed by adventurers, and all of this anger made them want to have revenge against the players. This huge creature was formed. It was a level 100 monster and it was called the Slime Queen. This was a monster who would lead the slimes against the players. The Slime Queen released a loud screech throughout the area. This was enough to blow all the nearby trees around it. The pressure was also too much. Its attack was enough to kill most of the players, and this guy was frozen because he didn't know what to do. In front of him was a huge monster and its strength could be considered a disaster. Meanwhile, our MC was just watching the scene with Satan. He then asked his familiar what it did. Satan told him that he just followed his command to strengthen the slimes. But for Dex, this was way too much. They were even being blown away by the force of this Slime Queen. Amidst this chaos, Satan was celebrating because the Slime Queen was too feisty. She could even pass among the ranks of his demon army. He was thrilled to see that the weakest monster in this world could use its thirst for revenge and create something like this. He then revealed that Satan just stirred the slime's emotions for a bit and used some of the plausibility that Dex gave him. This plausibility has the power to evolve certain monsters into this level even if they were just given a bit of it. That's the power that Satan has. He could improve anything to the maximum extent as long as he has plausibility. And right now, the situation has changed. The slimes were the ones who were now hunting the players. These ones were all stronger players now, but they were still being overwhelmed. The system also created a linked quest regarding this main scenario, and it was shown all over the players that were inside the beginner village. This was the newest quest. They needed to protect the town and kill the Slime Queen. They have a 7-day time limit, and players would only be defeated if the guardian crystal that was in the middle of the city was destroyed. This shocked everyone because this quest has a penalty. The beginner town will be destroyed if they fail. The pressure of the slimes were now being felt throughout the village, and not long after, they all saw this huge monster coming towards them. Satan asked his master what they would do while everyone was busy fighting the slimes. He even gave our MC an idea to secretly destroy the crystal to defeat the players. This was a perfect example of a demon's whisper. Dex stood up and told his familiar that he would just observe for now. Satan thought that his master would just see it out and then destroy all the hopes of the players right at the last moment. He was kinda proud because his master was a true devil. After a few moments, he was bombarded with notifications saying that he gained more points. Dex thought that Satan's statements were true. Eventually, our MC would have to choose which side he would be helping on. This guy just smiled because he will choose the side that will give him more benefits in the long run. The Slime Queen continued approaching the village full of players. This monster has insane stats. She also has some skills like rapid regeneration and shared consciousness. This scene was being monitored by the people who were assigned to the Korean branch of Arcadia. The director was just focusing and waiting for what's gonna happen next. Someone stood up and told him that they should just take the server down. It was Kang Tae-hoon and he was the department head. He added that they can't just let a level 100 monster roam around the village that was intended for new players who were just learning how the game works. This lady named Wang Jihai agreed to this suggestion. She was the top designer of the team and she didn't design a monster like that. She thought that maybe it's the headquarters who created this monster. The pressure was already piling up because of all the complaints they were getting. The director didn't say a single thing. He was busy thinking about the things that caused this disaster. It started with this man who started killing the beginners. And now, this huge monster appeared all of a sudden. He was now starting to get the gist of all these things. The director then asked everyone if they already knew what the game really wanted to achieve. Arcadia wanted to have a world with infinite possibilities and infinite freedom. He threw an idea to everyone that this scenario right here was not even planned by the headquarters itself. This incident was caused by a single player. The appearance of the main scenario, the beginner killer and the slime stats manipulation all led to this disaster. This revelation created some fuss inside the meeting room. They can't believe that something like this was even possible. And since this was caused by a player inside the game, they can't really interfere. This was a #1 rule inside Arcadia. They would need to let this scenario finish even if there was a penalty behind it. If players would not be able to defeat this monster and defend the village, it will be permanently destroyed. And right now, some of the parts of the beginner village were already on fire. Players were busy fending off these slimes who had entered the premises of the village. Even the NPCs inside the game were now defending this place. This one was even thinking where these slimes came from. But then, this purple appeared and he was caught off guard. He thought that he was already done for. But someone appeared in front of this old man NPC and saved him. It's a player and he suggested the old man go and retreat. He then immediately complied and backed off. These two luckily escaped that dangerous situation. This old man named Bairn was a security trooper and he thanked this player for saving his life. And this one was reliable and humble enough to give him a thumbs up. But then the old man insisted that what he did was too righteous and he can't really thank this player enough. This old man then told the player that after this incident, he should go and look for him. Again, this scenario had created a special quest for the player again and it asked him if he would accept this class called Savior. The player was shocked seeing this because he only heard this from rumors. He immediately accepted it because he knew this was an important quest. The old man then changed the topic because they have some other things left to do. They needed to stop this monster from destroying their village. This fierce battle continued for over 3 days. During these days, the players were still being overwhelmed by the slimes, but the Korean servers players were known because they never backed down from a challenge. All the high-level players learned about the situation and they started to come into the village to provide some backups. The beginners also started to adjust their strategies and formed a separate alliance. The players who also killed more than 1,000 slimes all got a title called Slime Slaughter. This title gave them 30% defense and 40% damage against the slimes. And this started to change the course of this battle. The players saw a new ray of hope. They thought that this strategy was now working wonders for them. Meanwhile, Dex was just out there watching this battle. The quest he got last time had already accumulated around 32,000 kills. And naturally, Satan was happy to see the scene. He started to laugh and praised his master so hard because he was more like a demon than him. Dex also managed to collect over 22,000 plausibility points. His familiar asked him again about what he will do right now. Satan was talking about the fight that was happening. Because eventually, the players were still destined to win this battle. Their group was already gaining too much momentum. Dex didn't respond right away as if he thought about this. He then smiled. Our MC has equipped his dark cloak again. Satan was shocked because he saw some blood on his master's cloak. Dex was about to choose a side right now. Satan smiled as if he already knew what his master was thinking. Starting from now, they will take the side of the slimes. They'll continue the story with this building of Arcadia's Korean branch. The director was talking with this lady in front of him. He was asking her to stop the raid being held inside the game right now. This lady was the CEO of Arcadia, and her name was Lee Myung. Back inside the game, the 7-day time limit that was given to all the players was both long and short at the same time. The beginner village was also more known now as the battlefield. And right now, the sun has finally shown itself. There's only 10 minutes and 42 seconds left before the raid ends. The players were now starting to calm down because the slimes were nowhere to be found. They thought that the slimes had already given up. They have successfully defended the village, but it was really not over yet. The time was still ticking, and as soon as it hit the 10-minute mark, something happened. The sky suddenly turned red. It turns out that a while ago, it was calm before the storm. Every player in the village knew that something bad was about to happen. Our MC then appeared and had this smile on his face. This guy was standing at the top of the level 100 slime queen. And the party was about to get started. One of the players started shouting at his fellow players as this quest was really close to being over. But then they were all terrified. The slime queen had already started moving again. These players have been killing their kinds for a long period of time now. And they have lost countless lives because of this nonsense. Right now, they were the ones who felt the pressure of being hunted. This boss monster right here appeared to avenge all the slimes that have died. There's still 9 minutes and 58 seconds left and I bet that this will be the longest 10 minutes of these players' lives. The slime queen started attacking. She deployed all the slimes and right now, they were all purple in color. The players started running because of the overwhelming force they were against. Some of them were still hoping that everyone would maintain their formation, but it was too late. This one who was leading these players suddenly felt something. A huge hand was about to crush him. He knew right away that he messed up. He thought that Arcadia was just trolling them because it was impossible to stop this monster right now. But then a ray of light appeared, and an attack was able to land onto the slime queen. It was from this player and he shouted to all the players inside the village. This made everyone stop on their tracks. He told them that they only needed to defend the village crystal for about 5 minutes more. This was the one he was talking about. He told them that they should protect this at all costs. Their pride as the best server in the world was also on the line, and this was enough to wake all of their fighting spirits. They all raised their weapons. This one was happy because he was able to control the chaotic situation. But right now, The Slime Queen was already at the walls of the village. The players lined up to stop her from reaching the crystal. There were only 10 seconds left. As every second passed by, the fights also got more intense. The players were throwing and sacrificing themselves for this quest. This one had already finished charging his final attack. He jumped in front of the Slime Queen, but his attack was only blocked by this shield. Even if his attack was not successful, he was still laughing because he did his part. He bought them more time, and right now, there's only seconds left. Back to the matter inside the Korean branch. This CEO asked the director if he was asking for her authority to really stop the slime raid. She stood up and told him that she couldn't do anything about this. She explained that they were not the gods of Arcadia, and all they could do was to manage it. All they could do was come up with some countermeasures and not erase the whole incident. This was their only role inside this game. Right now, this player who led everyone was now resting beside the crystal. He was quite satisfied because he thought that this was already over. But then the crystal started to crack. The system then notified all the players that the crystal was destroyed and that they failed to protect the village. A certain person was standing beside the crystal with his weapon inside it. It was our MC. He told the red-haired player that his hands had slipped. This made the player dumbfounded. He can't believe what just happened right now. The beginner village will now be officially destroyed. Amidst this chaos, Dex was disappointed because he didn't get any points from killing the red-haired player. The other players rushed towards the center of the village as well because they thought that it was impossible for the slimes to get in here. As they stopped, they saw what really happened. The one who destroyed the crystal was not a monster, but a fellow human. Our MC was more suitable to be a monster in this case. These guys were all furious and were asking Dex why he did this. They even called him a troll because he was messing around too much. The remaining players all rushed towards our MC. They all wanted to know his nickname, but Dex told them that this was really not the time to do this. The notification about the village being permanently destroyed appeared. The Slime Queen suddenly exploded. It was then followed by this bright purple light appearing up in the skies. A green mucus coming from the ground started floating around. Some of them thought that this was the process of creating more slimes, and a few moments later, it really happened. This blob of green thing suddenly made a sound like those of the slimes. A bright blinding light appeared again. The slimes started combining themselves, and this was them right now. They turned into huge purple slimes. The ones who were being taken for granted by the beginners started screaming because they won this battle. This was their wrath, and they successfully made the humans feel it. They were not the same innocent monsters before. Right now, they even have a ruler that will lead them. Dex and Satan were pretty amazed at the Slime Queen's newest form. The beginner village was also changed into one of the slime's territories. All of the remaining players inside this place received a notification. They were inside a hunting area and the recommended level in this place was level 80. There's no way they could survive this place. Slimes that were even larger than them was all over the place. Dex was quite amused because of the situation. There was chaos all over the place. After a while, this incident also caught the media's attention. This lady reported that the most popular game suddenly received a lot of complaints because of what happened in the beginner's village. And while all of these were happening, Yi Young was just sleeping. This guy really felt the burden of disrupting the whole game. Soon enough, our MC woke up. This reporter said that the beginner village was turned into a monster dungeon now. Yi Young just stared at his phone while listening to this news. This incident really attracted a lot of attention. The comment section of this article was being bombarded with negative feedback from the users of Arcadia. But one comment caught our MC's attention. Someone knew that this incident was related to the beginner killer. This guy knew the amount of hassle he had created for other people. He thought that he should just lay low for now. Some of these players even lost something important, like the guy who was about to have the advancement quest for helping the old man NPC inside the village. In Yi Young's defense, he was just playing the game like everyone else. There were still a lot of things he wanted to know, like the real purpose and mission of his hidden class, the resurrection of his familiar which was the king of all demons, and the mysterious person who gave him the title Bard of Anarchy. Yi Young took a second to absorb all of this information, but then he thought that he really can't be bothered with these things. After all, it was the game's fault for creating a quest like that. Right now, he will focus on that person first. Our MC was still a college student, and he was enrolled as a computer engineering student in Xiamen University. He will be having his orientation today. He got into the room and sat down. Even if he was a hardcore gamer, he still looked forward to how his college life will be. He then saw something. The guy who was sitting next to him was watching a video, and this video was the one where he destroyed the crystal. Yi Young was now shocked because he didn't notice anyone recording him at that time. This video has already over 2 million views. He wondered why people watch this thing and he immediately thought about the money that this video could generate. The guy beside him noticed Yi Young's actions and asked if he was also interested in the video. He then introduced himself to our MC and his name was Yi Jun. Yi Young didn't expect that this guy would be too friendly, but he also introduced himself. This guy then started talking about Arcadia and all the things that were related to this video. Our MC kind of felt relieved because he thought that Yi Jun was just really into Arcadia. But then this guy asked something. He asked Yi Young if he knows something about the beginner killer. Yi Young started panicking because this was too much of a coincidence. He now wondered if this guy knew that he was a person in that video. Meanwhile, at the Arcadia Korean HQ, Lee Myung was watching the video about the beginner village and saw that it really got destroyed. She thought that things would get more busy around. They already expected these kinds of things happening inside the game, but this incident was too extreme. But this seemed to be a good thing because she smiled. This incident had caught more attention of the public, and it resulted in people wanting to also play the game. Her company will also take this one as a lesson. She was also impressed because all of these things were done by a single user. She was now interested in how this player looked. Back to Xiamen University. Our MC was still panicking from the question he just got. Yi-jun also tapped him on his shoulders. This guy thought that Yi-young knew nothing about Arcadia and started to brag that he could rely on him. He then started explaining everything to our MC. He treated him as a newbie. Yi-young thought that this guy has sharp deducting skills and he can't let his guard down. And since Yi-young was too occupied with his thoughts, Yi-jun thought that he had talked too much. After a few moments, their proctor came in. This man was Professor Kim Tae-hoon and he was the one in charge of the computer engineering department. He came in here to greet all of the students in this course and he told them that he will be announcing something important. The professor then mentioned the latest technology called virtual reality. This thing didn't only steer the media but also did a major change in their course. The professor mentioned Arcadia and it caught our MC's attention. Those who had already played this game knew that computer engineering alone will not be able to keep up with this. He revealed that the faculty and the university itself already had a discussion and concluded that their current curriculum was too outdated for this thing. Yi-young agreed with these statements. Eventually, the world will be revolving with virtual reality. Professor Kim Tae-hoon then revealed that the computer engineering course will now be gone, and it will be changed to virtual reality engineering. This created a confusion in the students' minds, but he insisted that this move was really necessary so they could catch up to the world. After that shocking news, the students were all in the cafeteria. Yi-young and Yi-jun were still together taking their lunch. This Arcadia fan talked too much. He was not stopping about mentioning the game. This guy then asked our MC if he was playing Arcadia. He then made an alibi that he wanted to play the game but the capsule was too expensive. He also told Yi-jun that he was not really good at playing games. He also quickly changed the topic and threw the question back to Yi-jun. And of course, he plays Arcadia. He started bragging and told our MC that he was already a high-level player. He advised Yi-young that if ever he will be playing the game, he should contact him. The newbies right now were being spawned at a random place because the beginner village was already gone. Yi-young thought that Yi-jun was just really a nice guy. After that long day inside the university, our MC had logged in and he was greeted by Satan and his wines. He was annoyed because his master hadn't logged in for days. Dex thought that maybe this familiar got too bored while waiting for him. This sound was then heard somewhere near them. He then quickly turned his head towards the direction of the sound. Our MC was caught off guard because the slime queen rushed and hugged him. The other slimes then followed their leader's action. He was overwhelmed by these monsters. Dex was starting to have difficulty breathing. Satan was also not safe from these cute slimes and he got slammed on. A few moments later, these ones calmed down. The slime queen bowed her head and paid her respects to Dex. The system told Dex that this race will be eternally grateful to him and they will not forget the thing he did for them. Dex became the eternal savior of the slime race. His title got an upgrade from being Slime's friend to Slime's savior. Our MC also got a reward called Slime's crown and appeared right above his head. The plausibility points of Dex was also increased by 2,413 points because he completed the quest called Slime's Wrath. Dex was clearly happy with the rewards he got. This title gave him a lot of additional stats. This guy had gained 2 titles and both of which he can't show to anyone. Beginner Killer and Slime Saver will get him into trouble. Satan then suggested that they should just leave this area. The Demon King thought that he was done with these monsters. And our MC agreed. The Slime Queen then said her goodbyes to Dex. This was the same for the entire slime race. Dex was about to start another journey. Not far from the beginner village's previous location was the city, and something weird was being hidden inside this village. After the slime raid that destroyed the village, people started looking for new places to start their journey, and someone had posted this place on the internet. It was called Mikhail Barony. The place was only 10 kilometers away from the beginner's village. This new information quickly spread throughout the players and they all went in there. Everyone went to Mikhail Barony including our MC. He was greeted by this lively city. The guard did his routine checks and asked Dex his identity. All the guards were assuming the new faces were all from the beginner's village. This one was wondering what really happened in that place. All they heard was a bunch of slimes went on rampage. Dex then discovered that NPCs could also learn about the rumors spreading inside the game and he thought he should be careful answering these questions. Our MC revealed to the guard that Edeline became a den of monsters now and the minimum level requirement for that place was level 85. This NPC was now starting to understand the reason why lots of people started coming in their place. Dex thanked him for allowing him to enter the city. Meanwhile, Satan was busy looking for something. He was quite agitated around this area. He thought that this place was familiar to him but he can't remember why. Satan was also annoyed because Dex kept on calling him Tan. He didn't like the nickname that his master gave to him. Our MC then told him that the name Satan could attract the attention of the other players. Hearing this reason made Satan flattered. This familiar then brought up the plausibility stat again. He asked Dex what he would do with this power. Currently, Dex has around 33,000 plausibility points. Satan was already drooling because this meant that his master had killed around 40,000 players already. Dex knew that Satan was about to ask for more plausibility but then he firmly denied this request. This guy started whining again. He tried bribing his master again for more items. He even told Dex that he could easily defeat a whole country by using one of his items. Our MC was really not interested with this negotiation right now and it annoyed Satan. Dex thought that Satan's offers were not really that bad. They were even too tempting, but he knew that he can't just rely on his familiar and the plausibility stat. He thought that maybe he could use this power for more important things. And the most important part was this. Accepting an overpowered item right away will take out the fun of playing the game. Dex finally entered the city and it was full of people. The businesses around were also thriving because of the surge of people inside the city. Dex was planning to roam around for a bit and look for some interesting quest along with it. While thinking about this, he overheard something. It was from these guys who were inside a pub. This guy was having a problem because his boss ordered an increase in the production of the ores. But this request was impossible because even right now, they barely had a full day of rest. This other guy agreed. They can't really do something that was impossible. Hearing this, Dex let out his evil smile again and it startled Satan. Our MC thought that this scenario was interesting. Satan, on the other hand, was starting to get scared for his master. Dex didn't waste any more time and called these two. He approached and told them that he could be the answer to their problem right now. These NPCs' faces lit up and were thrilled hearing this. Dex got a new quest from this and it was called Miner's Concern. This quest requires him to mine 20 iron ores. Satan thought that this quest was really boring and anyone could do this one. But Dex felt something different about this one. He told Satan to look around his surroundings. This place was full of people wanting to buy some weapons. This familiar thought that there was nothing special about this scenario because all he saw was a bunch of blacksmiths. But then, Dex revealed that these blacksmiths who were offering repairs and weapons were not NPCs. They were players. This was probably because of the influx of people that gathered in the city. The blacksmith NPC's iron supply was not enough to sustain the demand for weapons. Most of the players were also rejecting the mining quest because it was too boring. This quest was about supply and demand and this could create a huge impact again. Dex told Satan that soon, he would understand the importance of this concept. But before all these things, they will focus on earning money first. At the city office of Mikhail Barney. This one was Mikhail and she was the one who was in charge in this city. She seemed to have a lot of things on her mind. She was analyzing the sudden price increase of iron ores. Before, they were worth 10 bronze each. But right now, they were already at 15 bronze. Mikhail knew that this would be a major problem for the blacksmiths because they could not earn any profit. This could also create a chain of problems and it would make their city produce lesser weapons. She knew that she needed to solve this matter quickly. Meanwhile, at Mount Fine, there was this place called Mine Entrance 1. Our MC went to the deepest part of this cave to make sure no one could see them. He commanded Satan to do something for him. This familiar asked his master if this was really okay. Dex assured him that this was just fine. Satan then started using his magic. Dex had given him 8,000 plausibility points for this contract, and our bad boy Satan brought up this item. This one was called the Den Destroyer and it was a type of drill for mining. It has great stats and buffs on getting high quality materials. Dex was planning to use this overpowered item inside this cave and get wealthy. Meanwhile, at the city of Mikhail Barney, the market was still thriving. This girl was looking to buy 20 ores from the other players as she also wanted to complete the miner's quest. One guy approached her. He told her that this quest was really not worth it. Having a good relationship with the miners will also not benefit her that much. He told her that it would be more profitable if she mined them herself and sold the ores directly. This conversation was heard by these two blacksmiths. Aiden was now annoyed because the adventurers bought all of their ores at a cheap price and now they were selling it above 50% markup. Kashim agreed with his sentiment. These people appeared in their town and suddenly they were the ones controlling the market. They hoped that the Baroness would do something about this because this could end their city sooner or later. Arcadia's economy was not different from the real world. It also has the production and consumption concept. Even the supply and demand plays a huge part inside the game. Each area has different products that they specialize on, and this encourages them to do the distribution and trading to other areas. Right now, the most popular and in-demand resource was the iron ores. This player was now being annoyed because iron ores were scarce already. Many of them had changed to a blacksmith job advancement to take advantage of the demand for weapons. And since more and more blacksmiths were being created, the demand for their number one ingredient skyrocketed. One iron ore was now at 17 bronze ores. It's much more expensive right now. Some of them would even go out of business because of this trend. Adventurers were starting to complain about the game more. This was too realistic for their taste. Some of them thought why not mine the ores themselves, but they immediately rejected the idea because it was too much hassle. For starters, the travel time between the city and the mines was already 2 hours. Then, it was followed by the difficulty of getting the ores itself. Sometimes, their equipment might even break. These experienced players explained to this kid that it was better to just focus on improving their mining efficiency by repairing the weapons. In the back of their minds, mining was simply not profitable. But this stereotype was not the case for a certain someone who knows. And right now, he was still busy drilling the sheet out of this mining spot. Our MC had gained a lot of iron ores in just a short period of time. Sometimes, he even got rare ores like the silver ones. His mining skill was already at a rank. This rank up will improve his chance of finding rare materials and it increased his stamina by 10. Dex was now tired from this hardcore mining he had done. This was all the materials he got from this session. A whopping 1,024 iron ores and some bonus rare materials as well. He thought that this was really worth it considering he spent a lot of plausibility points getting the drill. Satan then greeted his master again. All this time, they have separated. This familiar thought that his master will not be satisfied with the drill and did something more. He used his magic again and was about to offer another item in exchange for more plausibility points. And it's this item. This one was called the Tears of Darkness. It required the user to be at least level 221st. And it boosts the darkness infinity of the bearer. It also has 2 special skills and it could help Dex detect invisible enemies. But our MC rejected this offer. He's sure that he doesn't need anything right now. He then explained why this item was not really useful to him. This overpowered item will not even have a buyer because of its level requirement, and it will make the game too boring. This will also make the people investigate his identity, and eventually, they could find out who he really was. Satan asked his master to stop explaining because he gets it now. Aside from these things, Dex asked Satan where he had been all this time. This guy already has his devil expression and it made our MC curious. But Satan wanted to say the answer to maintain the thrill and excitement. He then praised his master because of all the items he got. Dex intends to do this every day and sell these ores to make some money. He intends to sell this to all the miners inside the city to increase their relationship with him. Having this kind of good relationship with the miners will eventually pique the interest of the Baroness. This is what he was really after. Meanwhile, Mikhail was still busy having these meetings. She had started receiving a lot of letters and concerns from the miners. They were all asking for her assistance. But this lady can't really do anything right now. They figured that this problem was caused by the sudden influx of players coming in their city, and these ones were all choosing the blacksmith job advancement. All these players were all novice blacksmiths, and the ones who wanted to reach the artisan or master level required more iron ores. This demand for iron ores was not met with the increase of the people mining them because the players thought that this quest was such a hassle. They even checked their policies if they could require everyone to at least mine some ores. They were now being bombarded with problems, and it seemed that they didn't have a way out of this one. That was until this guard barged in. He informed the Baroness about something. Outside the mansion was this mountain of iron ores. The people that saw this thing were all wanting to buy some because they were all high-grade ores. The Baroness came out and was confused about what she saw. Meanwhile, our MC was just chilling in this place waiting for something to happen. From the amount of ores he had sold to the miners, he gained around 5 gold and 12 silver. He computed his earnings, and this was equivalent to 512,001 or almost $400. He thought that this profit would be enough to sustain his payments for the capsule, rent, and his tuition fees. Dex knew that he could do something more to improve his earnings. And while he was still thinking, he heard a voice addressing him. It was from Mikhail. The Baroness of this city was standing in front of Dex right now. The system notified our MC that the Baroness has already increased her interest and favorability towards him. Dex smiled as soon as he figured who this person was. The Baroness introduced herself to him, and then she invited Dex to have a cup of tea because of the amount of ores he sold to the miners. Our MC needed to decide if he would accept this offer. This was a Mikhail Barony mansion, and inside was Mikhail and Dex. They were having their tea session right now. Our MC praised the taste of the tea, and he found out that this was one of the specialties of the city. After that, she got to the main subject of doing this meeting. She asked how many days did Dex take to mine all those ores. Dex answered truthfully and told her 3 days. This shocked the Baroness because this seemed to be impossible. She then found out that Dex was the only one who could do this, and this was impossible for the other adventurers. This is what she thought because iron ores were really hard to mine. She then asked Dex if he could help her. Mikhail explained that their economy started to shake because of all the players coming inside their city. The system notified Dex about the special quest that appeared after hearing the request. This one will require him to mine around 100,000 iron ores. And so far, he already got 32,140. Dex smiled because finally, he got the special quest. He cleared the conditions of this quest first, and after that, he assured the Baroness that he could solve this problem for her. Later that night, our MC was still in front of his computer. He was studying and analyzing how he could solve the problem of the Baroness. He didn't think that Arcadia would really implement a real economic problem inside the game, but after some time, he already found a way around this quest. The main issue about this quest was that players think that mining for ores themselves was really a boring job, and Yi Young was planning to change their perspective by creating his own YouTube channel. His name was The Daily Life of a Destroyer. The next day, at the Seoljin Middle School, this kid asked his classmate if he will still be playing Arcadia today. This one with the blue jacket was Choi Hyun-taek, 15 years old. And he was already done with Arcadia. The game had already given him some traumas. His classmate found out that Hyun-taek was killed by the beginner killer on the first day he logged in. And then on the second day, he got killed by those overpowered slimes. And his misfortunes didn't stop there because after that, the beginner village got destroyed. He died multiple times just trying to escape the place. And once he managed to get to Mikhail Barony, he encountered another problem again. He was forced to become a merchant and learn more non-combat skills. This made his character useless because he can't even hunt a single monster all by himself. This one was really discouraged right now. But then his classmate told him something. Hyun-taek saw a video that was about mining inside Arcadia. This video already had 540,000 views. It was about making money inside the game. The video started from the creator's perspective. He was inside the mines. He then introduced this place and knew that a lot of people were already familiar with this place. These two continued watching and they found out about mining. The creator knew that all of his viewers would think that this was just menial labor, but then he showed the amount of gold he gained by doing this job. This shocked Hyun-taek because he didn't expect something like this. The creator then started explaining how the process works. He also gave some computation examples. He pointed out that in order to really earn money, they first need to increase their mining rank, and after this, the rare ores will start coming out and they could start getting rich. The creator even shared his mining rank, and he told them that he mines at least 1 magic crystal a day. Hyun-taek was already hooked on this idea because no one had really paid attention to this job until this day. The video skipped the process of mining. It was then continued to the part where the creator sold all of his ores. He even promoted the good relationship that players could get with the NPCs. In just one day, he showed that he got 1 gold and 82 silver. This kid was really in trouble. We could see it by the sparkles on his eyes. He was already thinking of copying this strategy. This video was from a YouTube channel called Daily Life of a Destroyer, and it made it as the most viral content that day. The name of the channel really fit its content because there were a bunch of lies in there. The creator, which was our MC, only managed to get those ores because of this cheat item he had been using. He purposely left out these details to deceive his viewers, and this move resulted in a lot of people gaining interest in mining. All the players inside the city were all rushing to buy pickaxes they could use on the mines. Suddenly, there were a lot of people lining up to mine iron ores. The Baroness was going crazy because of this development. She didn't expect all these people to rush inside the mines. This lady was now having a meeting with Dex. She asked him how he did this thing. Mikhail found out that Dex stirred the basic desire of humans, and our MC told her that it was all about money. People will come flocking into something as long as they will earn money from it. This concept made this NPC confused, but she really can't be bothered with the things she doesn't understand as long as her problem is solved. Dex told her that their plan was still not done yet. He then suggested that Mikhail should reduce the wages of the miners and give them a percentage of the amount of ores they were mining. This will motivate the ones who work really hard and it will weed out the ones who were just slacking. This lady was starting to get the gist of this. She immediately agreed. Dex found out that the Baroness had zero idea about how the economy works. He will now use this to his advantage and teach her some things from the cruelty of the modern economy. Mikhail asked Dex about the prices of the iron ores because they were already selling at 20 bronze per piece right now. But Dex told her to just ignore that and it confused her even more. The people who really need these iron ores will still buy them and the artisans' earnings were not really affected. This is what they call price correction. The iron ores were really supposed to be at this price range to make them more valuable, and if some people still complain, they should just mine it themselves. This Baroness was starting to get corrupted by Dex's teachings. She then offered him to become her finance minister and she promised that she will pay him a lot of money. This offer was immediately declined by Dex. He was still not done with his adventures. Dex had already done something for the Baroness. And now, it's time to get his share. Mikhail then asked Dex what he really wanted in exchange for the help he had done. This was a perfect moment that our MC had been waiting for. He then showed her this piece of paper. Dex told her that inside that piece of paper was his business proposal. The Baroness checked the contents of the said proposal. In our MC's mind, there were limits on how much an individual could earn on their own. He then started thinking of ways to break these limits, and he found this solution. It was to rule above others. This lady was about to learn something about the economy again. Dex already knew that she would be interested in this thing. He revealed that he wants 10% of all the profits in this business model and then he will let her use this in her city. 1,000 years ago in the world of Arcadia was a war between angels and demons which was known as the Holy Demonic Great War. Both sides were represented by these two powerful beings. They fought an intense battle. This lasted for a while until one of them was greatly injured. The one who was representing the demon race was our MC's familiar, Satan, and his opponent was an angel that was wielding a holy spear called Muspelheim. This angel was a representative of heaven and she was Archangel Michael. Satan was a great disadvantage because of the weapon that she used in their battle, and he was utterly defeated. Turns out, Satan was having a nightmare about his past. He now thought that he remembered that scene because it happened in this area. This revealed a few more memories to him. Meanwhile, he was still on Dex's shoulders while his master was busy roaming around this street. All of the people around were now interested in mining. Satan then asked his master about the business proposal that he gave to the Baroness. Our MC shared a verse to Satan and it goes like this. You may enter as you please, but you can't go out as you please. He said this statement while having this creepy face with him. He then explained the concept behind it. Mining was really not an easy task. A normal player could accumulate around 10 iron ores in 1 hour. The occasional rare metals that he got was because of the Den Destroyer that he got from his familiar. That meant that this job was really not profitable. But in his case, he could do something about this feature of the game. This also piqued Satan's interest. Dex will not be mining anymore. But instead, they will be selling entrance tickets. He will use the Baroness to sell the right to enter the mines. Those who don't have any money can pay this fee later on. But it will be then too late for them to back out when they found out that this job was really not worth it. Satan then asked his master the price of the tickets he will be selling, and since this was really a one-time thing, Dex started to think about this. He then revealed that these tickets will be worth 1 gold each, and Satan can't believe what he heard. Even if he had no idea about the currency of the humans, he knew that 1 gold each was far too expensive. But Dex was confident that players would fall for this scam because of the information he leaked. This was the easiest way he could earn a lot of money. Satan, the king of demons, was speechless upon hearing his master's evil plan. He thought that Dex was really a demon because he really didn't care if he would get all of the players' money. This situation made this familiar idolize his master again. They were really a perfect fit. Satan then addressed his master. He told Dex that they needed to go somewhere important. He also promised that his master would not lose anything if he would follow him. Dex granted his wish and followed his lead. These two arrived in front of this huge door which was inside the mines. Satan revealed that this was the reason he was gone while his master was busy mining ores. He followed his instincts right from the moment they entered this city. He finally found out why this place was too familiar to him. Dex inspected the door closely and thought that this had been abandoned for a very long time. But something was off because there's no rust or anything on it. Dex thought that maybe there was some kind of magic casted on this door. Satan asked his master to try and open the door, and our MC followed his suggestion. He placed his hands on the door. The system then notified him about the powerful seal that was casted on it, and Dex didn't met the requirements to dispel the seal. The system then suggested that Dex should report this to the Baroness. He also gained a new skill called relic excavation because of this discovery. Dex told Satan about the seal, and it made this guy furious. That was the main reason why he brought his master in here. Our MC still didn't understand what Satan meant. He told his familiar that he doesn't have the powers to open this door. This guy then tried giving him more clues because his master really had no idea. He can't believe that his master was too slow to pick this up. Satan tried again and asked Dex about how much he knows about his powers. Dex finally got this thing right and thought about plausibility. This power was outside the range of providence. It allows the user to do everything that he wants. Plausibility was the power closest to being the creator of the world himself. After all these explanations, Satan was now expecting that Dex understood his power, but this guy answered him no. His familiar then simplified it more for him. He told Dex that he could do everything or anything that he wanted. This went on for 10 more minutes, and Dex found out that plausibility was the power Satan and other transcendental beings needed in order to move around. Satan added that usually, this power could just accumulate over time, but it was too little. The amount that Dex had given to Satan would require him 500 years just to have those. This guy then figured out why his familiar wanted these points so badly. He also got the fact that he could open this door just by using plausibility. Dex asked Satan how he should approach this because he knew it still has a seal on it. This guy then told him that he just needs to touch the door and think about opening. After all, Dex needs to learn to think like he was an absolute being. All he needed to have was a will to do it. Dex tried opening this door again, and this time a magic circle already appeared. The door seal was already reacting to the plausibility powers of RMC. The system asked him if he wants to open this door, but this will cost him 15,000 points. Dex knew that this amount was just too much, but since he had no other things to spend it with, he chose to open the effing door. This immediately consumed his points, but the seal really got broken. Dex had discovered a place called an unknown heavenly altar. Satan revealed that behind this door was the den of the angels. This place was also known as the High Heaven Stairway. More about this holy demonic great war. This fierce and brutal war set Arcadia as its stage. Thousands of lives were affected, and the whole continent was dyed with death. The weaker realms were only able to survive because of the existence of the World Tree, and even after 1,000 years after this war ended, it had remained scarce throughout Arcadia. The people who survived that war left a warning for the future generations, hoping it doesn't repeat itself. The main database of Arcadia got an alert notification about the high stairs of heaven. This incident just triggered a mythical grade quest and made the whole operations team in a state of emergency. This quest was not supposed to be discovered for a long period of time, but now one player had broken the seal. Kang Ti-hoon conducted a meeting right away regarding this one. All of the people present inside the meeting have these facial expressions on them. They still didn't recover from the stress they got last time. These employees thought that they could relax for a bit, but this was not clearly the case. Ti-hoon continued briefing them about the situation that happened inside Mount Fine. The team checked and looked at how severe this emergency was. The director found out just now that this place was once the territory of the angels. All the people inside their branch had no idea about this information, but they managed to find some storyline regarding this. Mount Fine was once called the entrance of the high heavens, and this was a place where the first angels descended from heaven. The ores around the mountain were supposed to be the barriers to hide the entrance from the outside world. They coined this place as the hidden holy land. The director thought that Arcadia has really a lot of unknown storylines, and this made him more interested. The whole team had looked upon all the corrupted quests that were affected with this development, and they think that they may have found something. Kang Ti-hoon was still hesitant to reveal this information, but it was already too late. He told everyone that this discovered quest could lead into the second holy demonic great war. Hearing this made the director think about all the headaches he was about to experience. Meanwhile, the culprit of this problem was none other than RMC. He was still quite amazed because of this discovery. Satan was also thrilled because he could finally have his revenge against the angels. He suggested to his master that they should now go and plunder everything inside this place. Dex walked towards the thing that was in the center of this room. He wondered if the treasure was really inside this thing. RMC tried to touch it, but these notifications popped out again. This one requires someone who could understand ancient language. A holy energy also entered Dex's body, and it increased his HP and MP recovery rate. This also gave him a new quest called Hidden Runes. Dex started to think that maybe whatever item that was inside this thing was extremely valuable. And while he was still thinking of ways to approach this, Satan was already bugging him. Before opening the door, the system suggested Dex go and report this to the Baroness. But since he already opened the door, he can't do that thing now. He thought that this lady who didn't even know a single thing about how the economy works will not be able to help him at all. Dex also knew that since he opened this door using his plausibility, whatever he was doing right now might already be a crime. He wouldn't want anyone to know about this place. He then smiled as he decided to open the treasure box. This made this demon king too happy. But more than 10 minutes later, these two were still struggling on opening this thing. It was really closed. These two were already catching their breaths because their strength was all drained down. Satan thought that if only he had more strength in him, this thing would be a piece of cake. He never thought that he would have such trouble opening a mere rock that didn't have any barrier or seal on it, and this statement from his familiar gave Dex an idea. He then confirmed if there was really a treasure inside this thing, and since he got the answer he wanted, our MC prepared himself. This guy just equipped his den destroyer again. Satan was now confused about his master's actions, but since they didn't have any clue how to open this treasure box, Dex opted to just destroy it. He started drilling into the treasure box, and it was effective. Cracks appeared. Satan thought that this was real proof that humans were way worse than demons, and after a while, the treasure box was opened. It gave Dex an extraordinary achievement. The beings from the heavens were also shocked by what Dex had done, and it made his affinity towards them hit the rock bottom. This guy was now forbidden to show his face towards the holy beings. He also gained a title called Relic Destroyer. But it all seemed to be worth it by the looks of RMC. But Dex was confused as he saw the thing that was inside the treasure box. It was just an effing skeleton. RMC was starting to feel bad because the one that he destroyed was not a treasure box but a sarcophagus. He blamed this thing on Satan, but since it was already done, Dex thought that they should still take something from it. Satan told his master that they should just take the necklace of the skeleton. This one had this mysterious glow around it. Satan already knew that this necklace was a piece of holy object that angels were preparing for the future. And he thought that if his evil master could get that, the holy being's plans would be destroyed. This was also his way to get back from the angels that defeated him. Dex, RMC, had obtained another important relic called Glorious Heaven's Medallion. As soon as he got it, holy energy started reacting to him. The force was too powerful and Satan was being blown away. Meanwhile, Dex could feel the surge of energy entering his body. Something was happening to him. The special ability of the medallion had been used towards Dex. He got another hidden class called Holy Prophet. This new job that was bestowed to RMC was contradicting his current class, Bard of Anarchy. The system sent a series of warnings and it temporarily disabled the effects of the medallion. Dex managed to find 2 medallions that gave him different hidden classes. Satan almost died from the amount of holy energy that thing released. He then asked his master about what happened, but Dex also didn't have any idea. This item was really mysterious. Even its description was missing. But the game was already conducting an investigation regarding this fatal error. Dex thought that he just made things too complicated and hoped that the game would do something about this. Meanwhile, at the vicinity of Mikhail Barry mining site 2, this kid was stopped by the guards and he got confused. The guard then told him about the new regulations that were enforced towards the mines. Everyone should have a pass first before they could mine. Hyuntak, the most unlucky player in Arcadia, didn't know about this. He recalled the video that he saw and thought that maybe the situations have changed. The guard revealed that players needed to pay first before they could enter this area. This kid unwillingly asked the price of the said pass, and this was his expression as soon as he heard that it costs 30 gold. Since this pass was already good for the next 30 days, it would mean that it's already 1 gold per day. 1 gold was already equivalent to 100,000 won or $77. And there's no way a middle schooler could afford this fee. His dream of becoming rich by mining was now crushed. But this guard gave him another option, and since this kid was already desperate to earn money, he would easily fall for this trap. The guard started introducing the program that was designed for the players who can't afford the pass. He told Hyuntek that it was more like buy now, pay later. The guard also pointed to that house so he could learn more information about the said program. The consultation office was also being managed by this lady right here. This was more than enough to attract this kid right here. He suddenly felt a little bad because they got another one. This kid was about to become a mining thrall. This mining site had almost no manpower not too long ago, but right now, it was almost already full. These were the players that fell into Dex's trap. Even outside the mining site, their shouts could be heard. This lady was really impressed by this new system that was placed. She can't believe that someone would fall into this plan. But she knew that this was not the Baroness' idea because it was just too wicked. All that she knew was this person who suggested this plan was too vicious. Even without doing anything, Dex cleared the quest about the 100,000 iron ores he needed to mine. This was because of all the contributions that the players made. He then told Satan that they should now finish things up right here. This confused this familiar because his master even did some stretches. Satan still has zero idea, but he already felt an ominous aura about this. Dex then told him about the things that they have done, and all of these things could get RMC punished. And in order to hide all of these crimes, no one should know about the crime scene. Satan was still not following his master's idea. But then Dex equipped the Den Destroyer again. He told Satan that he just needs to eradicate all of the evidence. This one was already sweating because of Dex's plans. Our MC smiled and told him that he would demolish this place, and then he started doing it. This 1,000-year-old relic site started to crumble. He even had this glowing around him after destroying the place. Satan thought that he should start taking notes from the humans because he still has a lot of things to learn from them.